Good morning. I'm walking south on Stockton Street, and I'm about to turn onto a street called Maiden Lane, which is a two-block alley right off of Union Square. It's got a bunch of high-end shops on it, like Gucci, and it's kind of a cool little spot that you may not know is here if you were just visiting Union Square for the first time. This is what the street looks like. And really, this is the back of a bunch of high-end shops. On the left side is, if you go through the shops, you'll get to Post Street, which is parallel to Main Lane. This is the Gucci symbol. And then on the right side is Geary Street, which is also parallel to Maiden Lane. But this is kind of the back-end way. Going across the street, this is Suit Supply. You see this guy with laying on a big watermelon, and he's really big. It's kind of a Gulliver Travels thing, which is really kind of striking, interesting to see. And continuing on, there's another big guy laying on the beach. This is a store that sells all sorts of men's clothing, and it's in the Darcy building, which is 175 Maiden Lane. It's a historical landmark. Pretty much all these buildings along here are, like this one, which is a brick building. It was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's the only Frank Lloyd Wright building in San Francisco. Right now it's empty, which you're going to see in a moment, but if you take a look at the facade, it's really a striking building. Never really seen a building quite like this. And you see some of the past owners. Gwyneth Paltrow's company owned it at some point. But if you peek through the gate here, a couple things you'll notice. One is that there's a bunch of mail on the ground. But also, if you look inside, there's a circular staircase, which was the model for the Guggenheim in New York, which is interesting. Obviously, this is much smaller, but this was a test case for it. This is a really interesting billboard. This probably isn't going to be here if you see it, but that looks like the most interesting man in the world, holding some very fit people. Probably stare at that for several hours, but we're going to move on. This is the Britex building, or the Britex shop. Inside, it sells clothing and fabric. That's why you've got these old-time sewing machines, which are really interesting. Kind of a cool display here. Inside you have all sorts of different fabrics, which is the type of place they would go to on Project Runway when they're trying to make a new dress. Moving along here, some other really high-end shops. Tourbillion, which is a watch shop, apparently. Never been in that shop, but this is the back end of it. If you look up, you can see this is really kind of a hidden area. So you see, you can tell you're in a big city, and it's a little dark. The other interesting thing about the street is that there's basically no one on the street right now. That's because it's about 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday, so none of these stores are open. But on a typical day, there's actually not that many people here, even though it's closed for traffic and it's high-end shops. In the middle of the day, you'll see some people, but it tends to not be that crowded. Middle of Union Square is a different story. So now this is Grant Avenue, and we're looking at, that was Market Street, and looking this way, if you go straight this way, you're going to run right into Chinatown, but we're going to continue on past Maiden Lane, onto the second block of Maiden Lane. So the interesting thing about Maiden Lane is this used to be called Morton Street. It was called Morton Street from about 1849 to the earthquake, and you see me there. The earthquake of 1906 and the subsequent fire leveled a lot of the city, including this street. That's okay, because Morton Street was basically the red light district for all the 49ers. It started out as kind of a high-end red light district and kind of fell by the wayside. You can tell this area has seen better days. There's a lot of high-end shops still here, but then there's stuff like this, which is some kind of construction. Porta potty, not the best place. The area that is close to Union Square is a little nicer, even though you've got some nice stores here, Alexander McQueen, but you've also got a homeless guy there in the blue sleeping bag. You've got Gumps on the left and some more equipment. So hopefully they'll get this out of the way. During the day, you also see some tables set up to bring food. There's not that many shops, but there's not that many places to get food. It's more of a shopping district. This is Louboutin, the fancy shoe shop. This is another store that I've never been into. And usually when you walk by, you don't see that many people in here because those shoes are really expensive. And then we're going to walk to Kearney. That's Kearney straight ahead. You'll see this is this place called the Romper Room. It is a cafe in the day, and at night it's a place where you can get cocktails. But you notice this end of Maiden Lane is not as nice. There's more homeless people here. A couple of the shops, particularly on Kearney, are out of business. You'll see the one on the right there's nothing there. The one on the left, this Asian gallery, is going out of business. But it's still there for now. Again, this is Kearney Street. To the right is Market. And then to the left is facing north. So that was Maiden Lane. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much.